Hey everyone, welcome to the Coach Catalyst podcast. This show is about helping you grow as a coach by standing on the shoulders of giants. Each show, you get a different mentor in your ear. The early motivations, the successes, the failures, the tools, the tricks, and the insight into where the industry is going. All of it so you can make your own dent in the world. Remember, success leaves clues. Now, without further ado, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Coach Catalyst podcast. I'm your host, but I'm also your coach, Trevor Whitworth. I'm not your coach, I'm Marlena's coach today, and Marlena runs a one-on-one training studio. Now, she runs these 6-week challenges. She runs specifically Clean and Lean, which is a great challenge created by Coach Catalyst inside the account. Go grab it. But she's modified it to fit her vibe. Now, she's got a bunch of clients running through it, but she doesn't know what to do with them next. So we work through that problem. The next thing we work through is pricing. Kind of a little wishy-washy on what she should be doing with pricing. So we work through that. We want to make sure that clients are feeling that they get tremendous value, but also that her business is creating a significant revenue stream. After that, we move into how do we share client results and don't alienate the people that aren't seeing those same results. I have a specific framework that I utilize and work through that we work through together with her. And finally, she is a brick and mortar business owner. So as business owners, we're always looking for ways to generate some more revenue, right? And so she has this idea of she wants to do a 24-hour aspect. So we work through the pros and the cons of that in this episode. So all of that, if you're a business owner, this is gonna be great for you. If you run 6-week challenges, this is gonna be great for you. There's gonna be a ton of nuggets in this one and ways for you to incrementally improve your own business. So I really hope you enjoy this Coach the Coach's coaching call with Marlena.
All right, so let's start with getting I know you've got a couple things you want to talk about today. So, but before we even do that, give me just some quick background on your business, your structure, and so I just have some context.
Sure. So I have a brick and mortar personal training studio that I'm now going on my 5th year of owning it. And I have slowly introduced kind of Coach Catalyst, and if we want to call that like online portion of it.
Okay.
I've also, in the meantime, tried to do like online coaching as well. And really, as you can imagine, with like COVID and all that, kind of spun that a little faster than I was ready for, I guess. Mm-hmm. So kind of doing both all at once, and it's a lot, but I'm managing, and I get through these, over these big hurdles and feel like I accomplished a lot. And then I'm like, oh crap, here's another big hill. So I kind of feel like that's where I'm at right now. I got another big hurdle to jump. And I guess, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. So
is your in-person 1-to-1, or is it like a 1-to-3 model? Or
it's 1-to-1. I have 2 other trainers working for me. I do rent some space. I have another trainer here renting space, and I have physical therapy out of here as well.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
All right, well, let's get into the first one. I think I have a good idea on kind of how you operate.
Okay, cool. So I have, I'm using Coach Catalyst for some in-house clients. And presently I think I'm about 12 in-house clients on my, my version, I say, of Clean and Lean.
Yep.
So, and I have it down to like a 6-week program.
Yep.
It has been awesome. And when I say awesome kind of from every aspect. I have clients that are not really savvy with their phones. Not that you need to be savvy, but you know where the spectrum of that could lie. So that was like my main goal going into it, was just to get them comfortable with using an app like this, because we've never had anything like this. So it's been personal, very hands-on approach that we have had here. So, and not that I'm trying to get rid of that. This is just introducing a new way. Yep. So anyway, that was my main goal. And then, of course, selling that they would lose like 6 to 12 pounds. Mm-hmm. And we've had great success. People are just very happy with the results. So, of course, that keeps the momentum going.
Yep.
Anyway, fast forward that we're coming up to the end of it. I have an idea of what I want to do I know that there's going to, because of my clientele and their personalities, they're going to be like, okay, now what? 6 weeks is up and I still need you to hold my hand in a sense. And what do you have planned? You're not just like gonna let me go, which is good. That's as a business owner, right? That's what you want. And I have my ideas of kind of like what I want to do, because I've already built out a 12-week program that I have people go through just on the online space. I do think, though, that it was kind of 0 to 60 from the start, that the success of my clients wasn't as good. There's many different things you can compare. That was all online versus in-house, and so there's different factors. But so my question is like guiding me on taking the next steps with these clients after the 6 weeks is up.
So you already have some ideas. So what are your ideas?
So my ideas are like, great, just to sum it up, it's, the clean eating approach, and the people are doing awesome. Taking some of that, but then also focusing more on, like, for those that want to lose more, focusing more on like calorie consumption and dialing it in a little bit deeper on, calorie allotments. And then, for those that will, the macro counting. So that's kind of like my broad perspective of it, what to do.
Hey there, you sexy little W. Sorry for interrupting your regular programming. This is Trevor. Now, I've got a big announcement, something I'm really, really excited about, and that is the Super Coaches Summit, our Coach Catalyst Summit that is taking place in August 5th and 6th in Reston, Virginia, right outside of the Dulles Airport. Super easy to get to. Now, we've been to a lot of events. We go to a lot of events, and we wanted to make this event different. Most events are educational. You have great speakers on stage. You take a bunch of notes. You go home and do nothing. Right? We want this event to be more practical. We want it to be tactical. We want you to leave the event with a better business than when you came. Not going home and hoping that you implementing at the event. And then the second thing we want this event to be is the best networking, connecting, collaborating event you've ever been to. So we've got some really special things in store to facilitate those connections. So if you're looking for a different event, something that's going to level you up, and an event that's going to allow you to have a better business when you leave than when you came, definitely check out the Super Coaches Summit. We are dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's. This thing is going to be on point, and I want you to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I think a good next step is to just first have a conversation with your clients and be like, hey, we're coming up to the end of this. What do you need from me in order to be successful, over the next 6 weeks or the next 12 weeks, and have them try and give you a little bit more information. And if they're ready to take on more, and then I think I would use that to guide my process and what I'm developing. Because some maybe, and this is like, and you've worked with enough people to understand this, is not everyone does well with the same thing. Some people love macro counting and they do awesome with it. Other people can't stand it. Right. And so maybe you have one path, which is moving more towards, all right, hey, we're going to start looking at calories. We're going to start, weighing food. We're going to start just getting a better idea on that aspect. Maybe starting to do some basic tracking. And then maybe another route is like, hey, we're going to work on a different habit every week for the next 12 weeks. Or a habit for the next, a 2-week habit for the next 12 weeks, or however long you want to do it. And they probably could be intertwined as well. You could say like, all right, cool. Like, we've done this clean and lean. It's really more about clean eating, really about cleaning things up and just being very conscious of our food decisions. Now let's go a little bit more granular and let's look at like specific aspects. So, hey, for the next 2 weeks, we're just going to focus on protein. Okay. And like, here are my goals for you with protein. Maybe it's hitting, X amount, 150 grams a day. Awesome. Like, how do we start figuring that out? Okay, here's like a hand portion, or here, if you want to start weighing and measuring things, here's a cool app that you can use to kind of track your protein intake. Can you get a little bit more granular on some of the finer details of like clean and lean, right? So you look at like all our big rocks with nutrition. There's protein, there's carbohydrates, there's fats, there's water, there's workout nutrition. Even taking like our our big kind of habits course that we've created inside of Coach Catalyst, and break out aspects of it. We've already got a lot of the content created that you can go in and kind of modify and make your own and put your own vibe on it. But we've kind of done a lot of the heavy lifting from just like, what is protein? Where is it? Like, what types of foods? And so now that I've kind of like talking through it a little bit more, I think you could create a singular program that could allow a client to go a couple different ways. They could do more of just like the, PN style, hand portions, that kind of stuff. And if that works for them, great. And there could be other people that are maybe a little more analytical, and they're like, hey, cool. Like, I want to get a food scale. I don't want to weigh this stuff. And like, I want to figure it out. Like, I want to get right to, 150 grams. And then you could go from there. And you might need to be a little bit more vague on like what your check-in question is, or you could have a couple different check-in questions. One is more based on just kind of like, hey, did I eat protein with every meal? And another one is maybe based on like, hey, I hit 150 grams of protein. You could have the same education, the same content, but you just change up like what their check-in is, what their measurement of success is.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. All right. I'm writing some of this down.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're recording all this too, so I'm more than happy. I can always send over the recording as well afterwards if that's helpful.
Yeah.
Does that kind of make sense from kind of what you were thinking?
It does. It's just good to share, ideas and, experiences, really what I'm talking from, because like you're saying, you do have some of those clients that are more analytical, that are like, come on, let's break this down even further. I want the scale. Right. But it's good to hear you say that too, because I was thinking more on the lines of, let's take this week, 2 weeks and focus on protein. And let's take the next 2 weeks and focus on your carbs that you're doing, and really break down like the macro thing. And like you said, the habits.
And it's kind of like, so we have this clean eating umbrella, right? That kind of is overarching everything. And then now we're moving from a 100 level course to a 200 level course. And so now we're starting to get into a few more of the details of it. And that might be a way that you can explain it to clients too. It's like, hey, you've done really well with this clean eating. And if this works for you and you want to just stop here, like keep doing it and you're going to continue to see success. But if you want to kind of go to that next level and really, dig into some of this stuff, this is what this course is about. And this is what we're going to teach in this particular course. And then I think, finding ways to, can you tailor it a little bit more to the individual? If you wanted to get really into it, like depending on what kind of measurement tools you have, like really figuring out like, hey, this person should have 120 grams of protein based upon their lean body mass. This person should have, 150. You could play with some of that as well to provide even more personalized experience if that's what you're going for. Yeah.
All right. And then always the big question is how much, to charge people. The thing about the clean and lean, I had discussed a little bit with you before, and I think, or messaged maybe then. And I told you my end all goal with it was just really to get people to get familiar with the app.
Yep.
So that for me was my win, for it. So I went cheap because
what did you charge for it?
In-house people are $20.
Okay. Yeah. And what does someone pay for a session with you?
60.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, you probably got a lot of people that said yes to it.
Yeah, I did. They were like, oh, well, yeah, let's check it out. What do I have to lose? And quite honestly, I had one client say to me, she was like, $20, I'll sign up. She said, what, am I going to lose a pound? She says this to me like, 3 weeks in. Now she's, I forget what she's at, I don't know, 5-6 pounds, down. And she's like thrilled. She's like, I can't believe, So it would just be reminding them again, like I totally approached it that, guys, this is the first time we're doing this. This is why it's, the price that it's at. And, so I definitely put that out there. And I knew what I was getting into as far as like, having to explain things and spending time doing it, that it was I was giving this away kind of for free in a sense. But I was okay with that because I told you all the reasons. So anyway, going forward, putting them on another plan, I have to introduce a little bit of a higher price. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you think it's just about...
What do you think it should be?
What do I think it should be? Is that what you said? Mm-hmm. It will depend how long the course is that I would make. I mean, I think like typical 6-week course for one person, I think is like, I don't know, probably about $600, mm-hmm. $100 a week easily, spending the time. And I don't know, maybe does my thought change after I have it like automated? But I just never think that it's completely that fluid. It just simplifies things, but
that doesn't necessarily matter in what you're doing with coaching, just because you can do it faster. So this isn't like these aren't like widgets that are being created, and there's not necessarily economies of scale.
Right.
Like the client's paying for a result, right? Like they're doing it because they want to accomplish X, right? Mm-hmm. And if you can get them to accomplish X faster, like it costs more. Right, for them to be able to do it. And that doesn't matter. Like the client doesn't care if like it's automated or this or that, like how much work is on your end, right? The client is caring about, I need this result. And so if you can produce that result more efficiently, right, then you stand to gain as the provider, right? And so don't fall into that's how we think about a lot of things with products. Cause like, I go to the store and if I buy in bulk, like I get it cheaper. Like this is a completely different process. Mm-hmm. And so trying to let go of that thinking and finding like the value in it. Like, okay, cool. If someone lost 15 pounds with me, like what would that be worth to them? Right. What would they pay? Would they pay $600? Probably. Like,
my favorite thing about Coach Catalyst.
One of the things I love most about Coach Catalyst.
There are lots of things I love about Coach Catalyst.
And the reason why I love Coach Catalyst is that
the accountability off the back of that
is simplicity.
The support is amazing.
It allows me to give so much of me to my clients.
The drip feeding of content.
I can schedule lessons for my clients in advance.
Game changer for freeing up time.
It gives me my time back.
It's so simple and so easy.
Hi, I'm Kane, the founder of Coach Catalyst, the #1 accountability and communication software on the market today. We help coaches just like you keep their clients accountable and scale their business beyond what they've ever been able to do before. So if that sounds like something you want, let's take a look at how we can help. So Coach Catalyst was built on the 4 C's of coaching. Those are content, communication, community, and consistency. So for content, you need to go beyond just workouts and deliver the whole experience for the client so they get the results they deserve. For communication, you need to own your communication. If you don't own the communication, you don't own the client. So make sure you stop texting clients and use a centralized platform. For communities, get off of Facebook groups and take ownership over your social group with Coach Catalyst communities. And for consistency, the foundation of all results for clients, we took the best-selling book Atomic Habits and built all these fundamentals right within our app that's going to guarantee to get your clients the best results possible. If you want to start using the 4 C's with your clients, content, connection, community, and consistency, make sure you run over to Coach Catalyst and start a free trial today.
And like, how many people did you do the clean and lean?
It's like 12 people.
Okay. So how many of those people would you be happy to move to the next one?
I'd say probably almost all of them, maybe 1 or 2. I'd say about 10.
Mm-hmm. And so they're doing one-on-one personal training.
Correct.
So they're not super price sensitive.
Right.
You're not dealing with like a group training type of mindset person, right?
Correct.
And so I think you take that into account as well when you're thinking about it. And the other thing that you will find is the more you charge for it, the more people are going to value it, and the more they're going to execute on it, and the better results they're going to have. And so you actually do the client a disservice by not charging enough.
Well, and that was one of my thoughts that I was going to bring up is, what are your thoughts on, I know there's a philosophy on that if you hold more of a monetary value to it, that there'll be that much more, they'll be that much more into it and committed, rather than, oh, it's just $20. What's it matter if I don't do it? Rather than if it was, it's $1,000 that I'm just going to flush down the toilet. No, I gotta pay attention. I got to do this.
Right. And so you've already proven some success, right? They've went through this 6 weeks. They've seen success. They understand what this is going to do for them. So you have that social proof in a way. And then it's starting to figure out like, okay, cool. Like, how long is it? Because that's probably going to be like someone's like, what's this next? I would just call it like a phase. What's the next phase? And you could split them into like 4-week phases. Okay, cool. Here's the next phase. Or call it 6-week phases, whatever you want to do. And then you would kind of come up with what's going to happen in that phase. And then you move them into that phase, and then you move them into the next phase, and then you move them into the next phase. And so in that way, it's not maybe so much of an upfront, like it doesn't need to be $1,500 upfront. Maybe each phase is $500 or something like that, right? The numbers I don't think are all that important. You will know when you present it to them.
Yeah.
If it's good or not. If everyone's like, absolutely, I'm in, then like, okay, I probably priced it a little too low. And so next time when I bring the next group through, I'll bump it up a little bit and see what happens. And so you want people to ultimately say, you want some people to say no, like, just, I don't see it. And that's fine. That's good. That starts to let you know, like, okay, I'm starting to get to that point where the value exchange maybe isn't lopsided in one direction or equal, right? It started to kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get the value out of this, because that's really all this is. It's a value exchange, right? Like, I'm going to give you $500 with this, with a promise that I'm going to accomplish X, right? So me accomplishing X is worth more than $500, or I wouldn't have given it to you, right? And so when people can't either believe the promise or can't see the promise, or don't see that is as valuable, then they say no, which is fine. And then that gives us information on like, where are we at with pricing, and does it make sense? And so usually for most coaches, I just say like, hey, go with your gut right away on what you feel is like a no-brainer. And then the next time make it more expensive. And then the next time make it more expensive. And like, you can always kind of ratchet it up. Don't feel like you need to go like hit a home run on the first one.
Right.
If you really want, hey, like, I want people to go through this. I want testimonials. I want social proof, because the more of that you get, the more valuable the course becomes. Right. Where if you have 50 testimonials on the wall that said these people have success with this course, now that course is more expensive because the promise is more believable. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you felt like, well, at first I would define the range. And then from there, you can play with massage price, whether it's like $100 a week, or if it's like, one price or 2 payments or whatever. But I would decide on the time frame first, and then from there you can start to back it off per week. But like, I don't think you're very far off on where you're at. Your client base and your market probably better than anyone else. So.
Okay. No, that's fair.
Sorry, that's not like super helpful and like you should charge this much, but it's just like it's all variable, right?
Sure.
Everyone's market's a little bit different, and so like think about like what's a no-brainer, and then go from there. Because my guess is you want to keep running this, right, in your facility and running with more people and
it's been good. So, I mean, I have clients coming to me even saying like they've gotten blood work back, that they had cholesterol issues and now they're in like normal ranges.
Are you collecting all of this?
I am. I'm screenshotting everything.
Okay, good.
And then I'm like, you know what? You just told me that in person. Do you mind putting that in a message, throwing it through, messages on Coach Catalyst?
Yep.
And most people are cool about it. And like that was one of my questions too. How do you feel like, sharing the weight loss of a client, if a client, 2 weeks in is like, I already lost 3 pounds. Have you found in experiences that's motivating for most people or not? Like, so, cause what I did was I screenshot the message, because it was directed just to me, and I screenshot the message. I blocked out their name to keep them private. And then I was just like, let's congratulate our community member who's already lost 3 pounds. And I did it thinking it would be motivational for some people to be like, oh, crap, you know, I want to do that too. I don't know. What's your experience and what do you think of that?
Yeah. So it's social proof, right? And you're saying not necessarily other people that are in the program. It's just to your community at large.
No. It was other people just in the program, just the program people.
Yeah. So, I mean, so I would use that more as external. Okay. So I would take that out of the program and market to people that should be in the program.
Okay.
Right. Inside of the program, I think it depends on what the culture is, I think is really important to look at. And do you want a culture of celebration? And so if you want a culture of celebration, then that's part of that. But the hard thing with saying, hey, Susie lost 3 pounds is we don't have much context. Right. And so it's hard for other people, like situation like matters, right? Like, okay, I think if you can add more context around it, like, hey, Susie has 2 kids and a full-time job and this or that, and she managed to lose 3 pounds. Here were the 3 things that she felt like she did really well that allowed her to be successful with that, right? So you can almost like add some context to it, which then helps someone, because you're always going to have the comparison thing that happens. Oh, I didn't lose 3 pounds. Like, oh man, this isn't working for me. And so I think if you can add context around it, around here are the things she did, and those are the things that you have control over as well. Like, are you doing these things well? And so you put more emphasis on the actions that are happening that led to the result and not so much on the result. But then I would also take that result and take it out of there and put it externally and use that as like, hey, someone just 3 weeks into our, clean eating program is already down 3 pounds. Like, she's doing awesome. You want to make people have a little FOMO that aren't in the program, right? So the next time you open up the cart, they're like, okay, I want in. But I think a lot of it depends on your culture. And if it is a culture of celebration, awesome, celebrate it, but then also try and provide context around it on why they were successful. And not so much highlighting the result, but I think highlighting, and then that also creates a culture around action taking and less about results. Okay. Right? Because ultimately the fastest way to lose weight is to like cut off an appendage. Yeah. Right? Like, you lost weight, right? Because most clients will be like, oh, I want to lose weight. Well, like, oh, it's cut off an arm. Well, I don't want to cut off an arm. Like, okay. So, right. And so I think if you can highlight the actions that they've taken in order to achieve that, and you might even be able to say like, hey, Susie was 90% compliant to our actions and saw these types of results. You can start to tie back the results are because of the things that we have control over, not just, magical happenings. And then I think you have less of the comparison, because those will be like, oh, I didn't lose 3 pounds. Well, I also am not doing those things. So like, okay, maybe I don't. Yeah. Maybe I should have lost 3 pounds.
Yeah, that definitely answers my question, because that's what I was like, is this a negative thing? Because after I posted, I just thought, oh, let's celebrate. Like, that's a great thing. Everyone should be happy. And then I was like, oh, what about that person that's sitting there saying, well, I didn't lose 3 pounds. Yeah. But you explaining it and saying, to add the context to it, that totally makes more sense. And
As a coach that runs challenges, I needed my life back. I had stuff all over the place. A Facebook group for community interaction, Google Sheets for check-ins and measurements, and was drowning in email communication. As my challenges grew past just a handful of people, I started to notice clients were falling through the cracks. I began researching virtual assistants because I just couldn't manage it all. And truthfully, the client experience was going down the drain. Luckily, a friend recommended Coach Catalyst and just told me to trust her. I'm sure glad I did. Now I can run my challenges with 2 or 200 clients with just a few clicks. The lessons get delivered on the right days, the accountability happens automatically, and most importantly, the communication is all in one spot. I even created 2 new challenges from the Coach Catalyst library. Best part, didn't have to change a thing. I used to spend 15 minutes just trying to log into all the apps I needed. Now I log in and my dashboard tells me who needs a shout out and who needs a kick in the butt in about 15 seconds. I feel like a huge weight is lifted off of my shoulders. I can finally spend my time coaching again instead of worrying about all the admin work. Do your brain a favor and get Coach Catalyst.
Yeah.
And I think depending on what type of relationship and connection you have with your community, you can also have those open dialogues with the community and be like, hey, is this stuff helpful? Like, okay, I want to post highlights of people that have had success with the program. Is this helpful for you guys, or does this create a comparison model that actually makes it detrimental? And so I think if you can just kind of have that open conversation, you do it a few times and just be like, hey, how are you guys feeling about this? Is this okay? Is this motivating? Is it not? Like, I don't care either way. I just want to make sure I'm doing everything I can to help you guys be successful. And I felt like from my vantage point, it'd be motivating, but I want to just make sure that is the case. And if it's not, cool, just let me know.
Right. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. So on the complete other flip side of things, I in-house also trying to open up to have like open gym times, which I don't have. Everything now is by appointment only, one-on-one with a trainer. We do have, some spots of the schedule where it's like real early in the morning and late in the evening, and then weekends where we have like no one in here. And I want to have it set up that, people, I also don't sell memberships. Everyone buys, by just sessions. So what are your thoughts on all of that, and any simpler ways about going about things? And
who is this for? Is it for your current members, or is it for people outside of the community?
So, okay. So I guess I didn't explain that. I do want it because, every gym has a culture, and we definitely do. One thing about our gym, like I don't have any mirrors in our gym, and our clients love that. So that, that's just one of our things. Anyway, so I want it to be that if somebody came in off the street who's never been here, they have to go through a month of personal training with one of the trainers, kind of get an idea of the culture, of the machines, of the whole thing of how we work before they would be allowed to just have a membership to come in and use it as an open gym. So I didn't explain that, but to answer your question was, it will be just primarily for the members here at the gym. And I guess another reason for me doing this is because like I've had clients, for instance, I had a guy come in. He's like, I just booked a big family vacation for skiing. I haven't skied in years. I need to get back in shape. He was a construction type guy, so manual labor, like was in good shape, but not, so whatever, went through all this stuff with him, got him ready to go for his trip. And then he's like, all right, Marlena, he's like, I kind of know what to do. And, I got it down now. Can I just like come in and use the machines on my own? And I'm like, we're not set up like that. So turned him away, in a sense. He would have been a great person, I think, for that kind of a scenario. Along with, I know there's members here that would definitely do both. They'll continue with the personal training, but then they'll want to come in maybe just to walk on a treadmill or use machines.
So, there's a few things to think about there. Yeah. One, there's going to be an additional cost to doing that, right? You're going to have like key card access, Bluetooth readers, installing all the doors, strike locks, and all of that kind of stuff. So there's going to be definitely an upfront cost that's going to happen with that. And probably a monthly cost because you'll need some software to be able to like handle those pieces, right? And so those are going to be just kind of real things to think about. The next one, which is probably more important, is will this enhance or detract from my current members' experience? And so, can they come in when other members are training? What times a day would they be able to come in? And so if I was just looking for a 24-hour membership off the street, being limited in when I can actually use the whole premise, like the whole promise of the 24 hours, I can go anytime, right? Like whenever the workout bug hits me, I'm going to go do my workout thing. And so I think thinking you're going to get people off of the street to come in and use it in these very like pocket type times, I just don't think it's worth your time and effort. It would be more worth just going and getting more personal training clients and putting your focus there. I think it would kind of deviate some of the focus from what you're currently doing, because it just the reward from it, trying to bring people from the outside, I just don't think you're going to be able to get enough of it to make it worth it. For like the extra headaches, it's the extra cost it's going to add to your facility, the extra headaches it is from a 24-hour member. Like they're not your one-on-one personal training type like person. And so typically more headaches, more customer service issues, that kind of stuff. If you're thinking about it for your current members and like, all right, how do I provide more value and more service? Again, it's interesting. You'd have to look at the costs. Would you charge them for it? Or is it just kind of like part of their membership? And then
charge them because charge them more than what they're currently paying. Yeah. And
so like, are you in kind of a metropolis area? Like, could they just go get like a Planet Fitness membership for $10?
Well, there is Planet Fitness, but I'm not in a city area of.
Where is like the closest 24-hour gym?
Actually, there's one that's not too far away, but it's small, but it's probably 15 minutes.
Okay. Do you know what they charge?
It's a more expensive gym. I know that. I would be.
So
lying.
What do you think you would charge for this?
I was thinking more of a monthly fee for people who are personal training also, like, I don't know, $45 a month.
Okay. And your personal training people pay per session?
Correct.
Or by packages?
They mostly buy packages, but yeah, it's broken down by session. Yeah.
Okay. And so you would add on the monthly thing. That is probably a conversation to have as well about charging per session versus charging monthly.
Yes. I don't know how to get there though with that. Like I can't wrap my head around a number of a monthly fee. And I feel like the clients like to know what they're paying per session. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. Like,
do you help clients outside of a session?
Like, you mean, are they texting me saying,
I mean, do they
anything from like, right. My shoulder hurts to, should I eat this thing?
Do you bill them for every time you send them?
No.
Right. Yeah. And so we see this a lot, right? Like, and so you can go this session by session model, which is fine. But then we do a lot of work for clients outside. And so then it's like, well, is that just kind of like free? Or is that just kind of like included? Or like how, I mean, you look at my accountant. If I send my accountant an email, I'll get a bill in the mail.
Sure.
Because he'll respond to it. He'll give me his insight and then I get a bill. And like, that's just kind of how professionals work. Right. And so, but in our world, like if I were to send my clients a bill after I like answered an email, it'd be like kind of like they would be a little bit put off probably from it because that's just not like the culture to an extent. And so the way I really try and frame it to coaches is like you provide more than just when that client is in that session. And so like including that, and here's how we work with people. We help you be successful. And then as you're building out this nutrition and that kind of stuff, that could be, here's our coaching package that includes nutrition and all this kind of stuff. And it doesn't necessarily need to be an add-on, right? For $800 a month or $700 a month or whatever you decide is like the fair rate for that. You can kind of start to create the solution for the client rather than just a commodity of a workout. Like right now, when you pay per session, I'm thinking about it as a commodity and like, how do I get cheaper per session? And then you guys might do it too, where if I sell 50 sessions, I get a discounted rate if I buy 50 versus if I just buy 10.
Yeah.
And so then it's kind of like, well, like, why should you get a discount? Like, it's the same amount of like effort involved, and we're discounting for the security aspect of it, of like, okay, and I've got 50 sessions. But from a service standpoint, the service doesn't necessarily change. And so we're pricing something like a commodity, like a product, and not necessarily like a service. Right. And so thinking about it more of like, how do I serve this client and how do I help them reach their goals? Okay, cool. This is what that costs. Right. And maybe we have it 2 times a week. We have 3 times a week. Those are included in these different packages, but this is what it costs. And the cool thing about that too is like, hey, let's say the client's going to be gone for a couple of weeks. Awesome. Like, we're going to give you workouts to do on your own. We're going to support you in that. You're not just, because if we're paying per session, I feel like I'm only getting the value if I show up for a session, but there's probably a lot of other value that's happening. And so if we change it from like, hey, you're trying to do X, you're trying to accomplish Y, here's our solution to get you there. And here's how much it costs a month. Or here's how much it costs a week. Like, weekly pricing is even better because you can get 4 more billing periods in a year. And so it doesn't mean like, for most coaches, it's like change everyone over. It's just like, figure it out for new people coming in and like start shifting to that model. And then you can start moving people over. And then you could also start to, when someone comes up to renewal to buy some new sessions, be like, hey, we've got a couple different options here. Here's the current cost of our per session. And I would just increase it. And then, if you want to buy packages, we've developed this new service because we feel like we do more than just run your workout sessions. We're also helping with this and with that and with that. And so here's kind of our new monthly service. Is that something you'd be interested in? And kind of giving them an option. And then if they're like, cool, I want the sessions, just make them more expensive. Make them $70 a session instead of 60.
Right.
But then it does a few things for you. It builds a little bit of continuity in your business because, you have this kind of like monthly recurring versus relying on that, having to kind of resell that client every time they're up with their sessions. And it changes the mindset of the client to like, hey, I'm not just coming in here for 5 sessions and then I'm done, or 10 sessions and then I'm done. It's like, okay, I'm hiring these coaches to help me get to my result faster than maybe what I could do on my own, and safer. And so it's more of like a true service rather than like a commodity. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, sure. Yes.
Because a lot of times for commodities too, is it's a race to the bottom. And then who can do it the cheapest. And in the service world, that is just that's a recipe for disaster. Because there's always going to be someone that's kind of like look at like Planet Fitness, for example, right? Like, they can charge $10 a month because like access to a facility is a commodity, and they have the marketing wherewithal and the space and the knowledge to be able to go out and get 5,000, 10,000 members and make sure the numbers work.
Yeah.
Right. But then now they're going to be directly competing with the 24-hour fitness down the street. That's maybe a smaller franchise that can't go to those levels because they don't have the marketing acumen, or they don't have the ability to sell 10,000 memberships. And so for that person that's like comparing, like, oh, I just need a membership. Like, oh, $10 a month. Okay, cool. Like, yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. But ultimately what you're doing in personal training is it's a service. You're helping people accomplish something. And so moving your services to helping them accomplish something, and then kind of adding more into it. Maybe it's adding in this nutrition component for the right person, and adding in mindset, and kind of adding in the other things we know they need to be successful, which you're probably already doing the way it is. It's just done in like kind of a free manner. It just kind of, it changes the mindset and it changes the script in the conversation, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So something to think about. A lot of people have done it really successfully. And it's not something like, hey, I just need to overhaul and put everyone on this. Like, it's very much, you could like create it, and then new people coming in, they're just on this. Like, we don't do this anymore. This is what we do now.
Right.
And then old people, you kind of eventually move them over. And then looking at the model too, does 1-to-1 make the most sense? Could we go 1-to-2? Could we go 1-to-3? Like, could we start making some efficiencies there? And putting more, maybe more of your focus on that aspect of it than, should I open this up to 24 hours. It's like, all right, how can I optimize my current business even a little bit more? And maybe there is a solution with a 24-hour. We kind of went through this a little bit with one of our facilities. Like, should we do it? Should we not do it? We ultimately didn't do it. And we then bought a 24-hour gym that was going out of business. And then we made that our 24-hour so that if our clients did need access, they could go over there. But I think a lot of people wouldn't actually use it. That's kind of the other thing. The reason they hire coaches and trainers, right, is for accountability. Like, I need the appointment to show up.
Yeah.
And so, like, it may be a lot of headache and work to put it out there with very little, like, actual usage.
As a gym owner, Coach Catalyst is the key to having low turnover. For several years, I struggled and spent 10 to 20 hours a week communicating with clients via phone calls, Facebook Messenger, email, and text messages. I had tried everything to make my life more efficient. I was at my wit's end. And then I found Coach Catalyst. Since starting the software, I have found a life again, and my clients are thanking me for being so involved in their fitness life. I've cut my daily commitment to interacting with over 300 clients to under 15 minutes a day and have streamlined my 6-week challenges. I couldn't recommend it more. I just don't know if I would even be here today if it wasn't for Coach Catalyst. If you don't have an account already, you're missing out and not helping the people you could be.
Have you even surveyed your clients and be like, hey, if we did this, here's what we would charge, here's when it would be open. Would you sign
Not
up?
a formal survey of kind of like some of my clients, just talking to them one-on-one, like, this is what I'm thinking about. And they're like, oh yeah, that would be good, you know? Or maybe like, you know, some of them said, well, I know my husband or I know my wife, you know, they would use it.
And then my question would be, are they using anything right now? Oh yeah, I have a membership at so-and-so. Okay, are they going? No, not really. Okay. So how would this be any different? Right? Like, hey, let's bring them in. Let's do a couple session. Bring them in and let's have you guys work out together. Like, I mean, I think there's ways to, it's a different business model. Than what you're currently in. And so it's really got to be worth it. And for like maybe the extra couple $100 that it would maybe get you, like, is it worth the headache?
Right.
And you're going to have a couple $100 in extra costs, right? Just from a hardware standpoint of getting everything, and then from a software standpoint on a monthly basis to handle it, and then potentially disrupting your current model a little bit, right? I just don't know if it would be worth it.
Yeah.
And the other thing too with clients is be like, okay, here's how much it's going to cost. Can I see a credit card? Because everyone's going to agree and be like, oh yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then like, oh, okay, let's get you signed up right now. Maybe I don't.
Yeah.
And so it's being careful with how we ask for advice. Because if people have a good relationship with you and if they're very agreeable, they'll usually just agree. But then when it comes down to actually taking action, then it's different. So, and where are you based out of?
We're outside of Philadelphia, like an hour.
You're on the East Coast, so people are a little bit more like real and raw than like the Midwest. Okay. Sorry, that didn't really like completely like answer it, but hopefully at least gave you some things to think about.
It did for sure. I mean, I will say one of the other things we're up against too was like after COVID, there was so many, not necessarily my trainers, but just trainers in the area went out and did their own thing. You know, they've just figured out resources to do their own thing. So I actually got to a point this, I guess it was like summer, fall, where us as trainers, we were completely booked. And I'm not like, we had people call us and I was like, literally like, don't know where I'm going to fit you in. And none of us, you know, other than overworking your staff, which I have had trainers for a long time now, and they have a great reputation with me, with their clients, you know what I mean? So I don't want to disturb that. You know, there's no reason to overwork them and disturb all that.
And I mean, it's starting to look at the business model then, right? And how do I create more capacity in my current business?
Right. And that's where my mind went with, well, do I, there's a few clients that I had that I was like, all right, like, you know how to do this. I realize it's not that appointment that they're scheduled for, that they're showing up for, but they knew the routine. They know how to get through the workout. And I'm like, if, Coach Catalyst, if I have the workout for you, can you follow the app and go through the workout in the gym here without me counting out reps and sets and, so then, push them off to doing it on their own and taking in the new client.
Don't push them out. Keep
Well,
them in. Figure out how to get more of them. You know what I mean? Because one thing with one-on-one, the cool thing about one-on-one is it's really sticky. Like, people stay with you forever.
Oh yeah. I know.
And so, like, that's a great thing about the business model. The challenge with the business model is there's a cap on it, right? It has a very low ceiling in the number of people that you can work with.
Yep.
Because you can only work with so many people. You only have so many hours in the day. You have so much energy, right?
Yep.
And so that's where exploring like a semi-private model can be a way for you to almost double your capacity without adding more hours to your day. You could actually charge less and make more. From a numbers standpoint, like, you can, let's say right now you're charging $60 a session, right? So that means you're making $60 in a session. So what if you charged $50 a session and there were 2 people there? Okay, you've just basically increased 40% like what you make per session, right?
Sure.
And the experience probably isn't any worse, and it's actually probably better, because now as a coach, you get to kind of move around. You're coaching a couple people. You're not just kind of like sitting there figuring out how to have conversations during rest periods, or talk about the same things over and over again. And then clients actually get to know each other, and they get connected to each other, and then they have a really good experience. And then they look forward to seeing that other person in that session. And so now there's even more connection, more stickiness to this gym. As long as the facility has the equipment and has the like kind of space to be able to accommodate it.
Right.
I mean, and then let's say there's 3 people in a session, and they could all be doing different programs. Like, they don't all have to be doing the same thing. Like, to give you an example on like how our facility operates is we have 4 people in a session at one time. They're all on different programs. All of their programs are inside of Coach Catalyst. They either use their phone or they use a tablet. One of our tablets, when they come in, they get logged in and everything is right there. And the reason we have them digitized is if for some reason I can't get to them in that moment, they can just play the video. Oh, okay. They just need a little reminder. Oh, that's what that is. And they can be doing their thing. And then as a coach, you're moving around and you're coaching all of these different people. And let's say now we even lowered the price for the client to $40 a session, right? And you have 4 in that session. Now you're making $160 in a session rather than the $60. I mean, you've over doubled the amount that you can make in a time frame, and you're not decreasing the experience at all. And what I found is there's very few people that truly need one-on-one, and they're typically like a rehab type setting where I need to watch everything. Maybe there's a risk of falling or things like that. Outside of that, the majority of people do really well and it's personal training. But actually, the best way it was ever described to me was by Scott Carpenter. He called it overlapping personal training. It's personal training, but we overlap the sessions, and you guys are hanging out together. Like, it's cool, and everyone has a good time. So we're still providing personalization to each person and to the workout, but we just do it in a model that makes a lot more sense. And then it's ultimately cheaper for the client, or it can be, and it's more profitable for the facility. And then the coach, especially if your trainers are paid kind of a commission type thing, then they make more as well, because there's a couple people in that session. So that may be something to think about from just a business model standpoint.
Yeah, I haven't really thought like that. So that, you've given me a lot of good things and a lot to think about.
I think you would make more progress by exploring that business model than trying to explore a 24-hour model. And if you did want to experiment with the 24-hour model, or thinking if a client's going to do stuff on their own, give them home workouts and be like, and just like say, like, are they doing them or not?
Yeah.
Like, here's the home stuff. If they can't do the thing in their home where they don't even need to leave,
yeah,
they're probably not going to do the travel thing.
right.
And honestly, for like under $500, someone can get like a nice home setup, like set of suspension trainers, power blocks, a bench, and like you can do pretty much everything you need to do. So if they're looking for more, I would do that. And if people aren't like asking for it, like, hey, I'm really looking to do stuff on my own, like, don't try and create a situation that doesn't necessarily already exist.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
We do this all the time as business owners. It's like, we're trying to kind of like look for that next thing and like, how do we make this better?
Yeah.
And it's like, do people actually want this?
Yeah.
And sometimes like, and then we tell it to someone and then they agree. And then that kind of affirms our,
yes.
But it's like, they weren't actually asking for this. Like I just kind of came up with this because I was bored or was trying to find other ways to like make it better. Right? We do this all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just important to vet things really, really well and try and find ways to do it in a like an easy, simple way where you can like test it and see like, okay, do I really need to go down this route of like changing out all of the locks on all of our doors, and putting in all this electrical and all these other things to do this, before, I go down that road and then 6 months later and I did it and I'm like, oh, like, no one's actually using this. Okay, cool. I'm out $5,000. Awesome.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's helpful and gives you at least some food for thought.
Definitely. A lot. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Cool. Other questions or follow-ups from that at all?
No, not at the moment. I mean, who knows? I might sit on this for a little bit and have a lot more, but no, it was very helpful.
Good. Yeah. So are you okay if I follow up in like a couple of weeks and just kind of see like, hey, how you doing?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anything from a Coach Catalyst standpoint that you need help with, or you feel like you're good?
I feel like I'm good. It was that, I think I'm just going to set up that next program for the people coming off of the 6 weeks, get that rocking. Like, I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think that's a good next action step for that, for sure. Figure out length, figure out price, and then start having those conversations.
Yeah. All right.
So, cool.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Okay. Absolutely. Well, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
We'll see you later. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of the Coach Catalyst podcast. If you are a coach looking to do more for your clients than just workouts, give Coach Catalyst a test drive. Try it for 14 days. Jump on call with your personal strategy coach, Ashley, and see how easy technology can be, all for free. Tell them Trevor sent you. Until next time, keep changing lives.